This meeting is now being recorded. Apologies for starting a little bit late. It had some security features that we need to put in place. Councilman Ferguson, if you could please do the invocation.
Good evening, everyone. Father God, we just praise your name and we thank you, Lord, for your love, your faithfulness, and for keeping us another day. We ask, Lord Jesus, that our minds will be clear and our hearts will be peaceful as we gather tonight. Let us be productive in this meeting. And Father, I bind any spirit of
I'm
stagnation.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Y'all can't hear me?
We can hear you.
I bind every spirit of stagnation, unfruitfulness, and anything that would hinder the city to move forward. And Father God, I lose peace and unity and alignment of the Spirit of God in Jesus' name. And Father God, I just ask that you be the doorkeeper and the gatekeeper of the city of Glenarden. And I ask that your will be done in everything that we do for the city and for the citizens of Glenarden. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you please do the roll call?
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones,
Present.
Councilman Herring,
Here.
Councilman Hairston, Councilwoman Guillaume,
Here.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Here.
Vice President Ferguson,
Here.
President Curtis.
Here.
I did see Councilman Hairston earlier. Councilman Hairston?
Yeah, I said here. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now. Thank you so much. We have a quorum.
Thank you. And please just bear with us today. It looks like some people are trying to get into this meeting who are not supposed to be in the meeting. And so we're just going to just be patient and take our time. And Madam Clerk, I will take over the admitting people in from here on. Madam Clerk, are you there?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Our apologies. I think we've removed these individuals. And I think we're good to move forward. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Moved by Councilman Hairston, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Guillaume. Discussion. Any discussion?
Yes, Councilwoman Jones.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Jones. If you could, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong page. That's why. Go ahead, Councilwoman Jones.
Okay. I wanted to introduce tonight a resolution pertaining to the trash, for the trash pickup. I'm not sure that got into everybody's packet today because it was just completed today. But I just wanted to let citizens know that the ones that have called me that I'm on top of this, and I wanted to present the resolution on this agenda. Not that we have any discussion or anything, because I just want to make sure that it gets to the public hearing next week. I just wanted to introduce it. It was a resolution to was just a resolution to bring the, make sure that that we put in place the 3-month period that would give the administration time to do an RFP to find out if there's any other vendors that would like to bid on it, the contract.
Okay, this is for the 3-month extension
Yes, sir.
until, okay, all right. Any other discussion? Objections? Okay. With that, we'll go up for a vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
Okay. I just have one, one more security issue. With the person with the number 240-401-2855, identify yourself, please. Is that
Yeah, hi,
Jackson?
my name is
Yeah.
Mike Curtis.
Okay.
And that number 240-401-2855 is me, Captain Jackson.
Okay. So I removed Mike Curtis, but Jackson, you're good to go. All right. And again, sisters, I apologize. I don't know what about today made multiple people try to infiltrate our meeting, but kudos to Madam Clerk for being able to identify it before it even started. So thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. With that, first on the agenda is vote to approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to bring this, all of the meeting minutes highlighted in the agenda, to the floor for a vote? Motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Moved by Fareed. Second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Jones. Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
Okay. Next up is a vote on legislation on docket for tonight. We have 11, so please bear with us as we go through it. So Madam Clerk, could you please pull up the first on the docket and read it? And it is a resolution to approve contract with GS Proctor and Associates.
You guys can see that clearly?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. All right. This is a resolution number R 14/2022, introduced by Derek D. Curtis II, Council President. Co-sponsored at the request of the administration. Public hearing Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Session regular meeting. Date of introduction Monday, February 2014. February 14th, 2022. This is a resolution to approve contract with GS Proctor and Associates Incorporated for professional lobbying, grant writing, applications, and public relations services. Whereas the city wishes to hire an independent contractor to provide professional lobbying services at the state and local level, grant writing, application services, and public relations services for the city of Glenarden. And whereas GS Proctor and Associates Incorporated has agreed to act as an independent contractor to provide professional lobbying services at the state and local level, grant writing and application services, and public relations services for the city of Glenarden. And whereas the city of Glenarden will ask GS Proctor and Associates Incorporated to secure funding for projects in the city in the form of grants, bill bonds, and will lobby on the behalf of the city of Glenarden during the state of Maryland's 2022 legislative session. And whereas the city staff has negotiated a contract with GS Proctor and Associates Incorporated, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit A, and whereas the city of Glenarden has obtained 3 quotes attached hereto as Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and Exhibit C for consideration to award a consulting contract supporting the city of Glenarden. And whereas the council has determined that the contract shall be awarded under Section 825 of the charter, notice inviting potential contractors to submit proposals has been given at least one newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 5 days prior to the awarding of the contract.
Transportation in that area.
Now therefore be it resolved by the city of Glenarden sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022, that under this resolution, provisions are made for extending contractual agreements with GS Proctor and Associates without the need for a new resolution, so long as annual reviews conducted by the city council, find services provided and delivered are both equitable and beneficial to the city of Glenarden to extend the contract. The city of Glenarden is hereby authorized to enter into a 1-year contract with GS Proctor and Associates. GS Proctor and Associates agrees to provide professional lobbying of elected representatives, appointed officials, and government representatives on the state and local level, and community associates and others as directed by the city of Glenarden. GS Proctor and Associates will assist, arrange, and prepare for public meetings as approved by the city council and present information to community groups and others at such meetings. GS Proctor and Associates will maintain communication with and provide information to the mayor and the city council as to the work provided under this agreement. GS Proctor and Associates will provide monthly written reports of all activities and work engaged in pursuant to this agreement on or before the 15th day of each month following the activity period. This contract amount under this agreement is $24,000 payable in 12 equal month installments of $2,000 per month. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage by City Council.
So I have a motion to bring this to the floor to vote?
Council President, I'd like to make a motion that this be tabled until we've had a discussion. What was supposed to happen here with this resolution is that the council was supposed to GS Proctor was supposed to do a presentation of their company. And then we were supposed to have a discussion on the length of time of contract that we were going to bring them into the city. If we brought them into the city, like the 2022 legislative session is over now. I can't see giving or paying them money for time that they won't be used in the city. Like I said before, when the city had them as a vendor, the only thing that I could find that got done was the police grant that was written by them. Other than that, like I said, we tried to determine what it was that they had done for the city. So I'd like to bring a motion to table it so that we can discuss the terms of this agreement before we vote on it.
Is there a second?
I will second. I just want to say that, can I comment, Council President, or no?
Yeah, go
Did I
ahead.
just say second? Okay, I'm sorry. I will second because I do remember a portion at least of what Councilwoman Jones stated, which was we wanted to make sure that when we actually acquired, if we were to vote and acquire GS Proctors, it would be during session or something like that, like when the Maryland legislative body would be in session, and we didn't want to just pay them money when, there's nothing happening right now. That's what I recall as well.
Okay. There's a second by Ms. Guillaume, Councilwoman Guillaume. Any discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Mr. President. I was just going to say, and I do remember that discussion, but can't we just change the term of the contract instead of saying a year to 6 months or something closer to that, or put a time period in it before we just table it? And that's my question. So, thanks.
Okay, Mayor Cross, Councilman Herring asked if there was a way to shorten the contract by 6 months.
Mhm. Thank you, Council President. Yes, you can actually shorten the contract if you need to. Keep in mind, outside of just the legislative session, they also could help us negotiate our insurance as well as other things that we want to do for our administrative staff. They also, work to help us get better rates, if you will, for our various premiums. So as we're looking at the 7th Street Park, and I believe we do have that resolution in here, GS Proctor is also being entertained in this legislation on the table right now as the managers for our ARPA fund. So it's bigger than just the state Annapolis. They actually also do federal lobbying and keeps us informed of what's happening at the national level under President Biden and the Congress. So they have a bigger value than just Annapolis in this legislation, sir. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Council President, if I'm not mistaken, in the presentation that Mr. Proctor brought to us, he said that he is not one of the authorized persons to be manager of the ARPA funds, that he would have to find someone else to do that. So I don't see them as being effective in that area. I think that we need to, like we intended to in the beginning when we first received the ARPA funds, was to seek out persons that had that skill set and that were identified by the federal government to do the ARPA funds. I just don't see them as being able to. It's just like moving one thing to another thing to sit there as things have been sitting there in the city and not being addressed. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jones, I was a little bit distracted. You did not have a question, correct?
A question? No, I didn't have a question. I just, like I said, my statement was that we need to sit down as a council and determine what type of negotiation we're going to do with this. Even to do it for 6 months. 6 months starting when? Starting June 1st to 6 months out, or when? I think we need to sit down as a council in a work session and determine if we're going to use their services, when we're going to use them, and what the time frame will be.
Okay. Is there any other discussion by council members? Okay. Then the motion on the floor is to table the current resolution. Madam Clerk.
Sir. Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Staying.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, we have 6 yes, 1 abstain. This has been tabled.
Okay. Next up. I'm sorry. Madam Clerk. Next resolution on the docket.
All right, this is Resolution R16, 2022, a resolution to amend the City Council Rules, Section 307. This resolution is being introduced by Erica L. Fareed, council member, co-sponsored by Derek D. Curtis, the second council president. I need to correct that. Public hearing Tuesday, April the 19th, session, regular session. Date of introduction, Monday, February the 14th, 2022. A resolution to amend City Council Rules, Section 307. Whereas the Glenarden City Charter, Maryland Article 3, Section 304 provides guidelines for scheduling city council meetings, and whereas the Glenarden City Charter, Article 3, Section 307 addresses rules and orders of business, journals, votes, and public meeting, roll call, votes, minutes, and whereas the Glenarden City Charter, Article 3, Section 307, Paragraph A grants the City Council the power to determine its rules and orders of business, and whereas it is the right of the council to amend the City Council rules as needed to more effectively communicate the agreements espoused in said rules and to more effectively execute the administration of meetings. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022, that the City Council rules of procedures be amended as follows. Section 2B1, the council president shall be the presiding officer of the council and shall preserve the order and decorum during all meetings of the council. Article 3, Section 305A, the council president and vice president shall be selected annually in a closed session on the second Monday of June by a vote of at least 4 council members. Section 2C, number 2. The council's president's action on all administrative matters shall be reported to the full council as soon as possible, but no later than 24 hours, and shall stand unless otherwise directed by a majority vote of the council. Section 3B1B, citizens should come to the microphone during comment periods and briefly state their concerns about the business of the day or state concerns that they would like the council to address at a later date. In order to give all citizens an opportunity to address the council, citizens will be limited to one visit to the microphone for a maximum of 5 minutes per comment period. Additional visits or time can be granted at the council president's discretion. Section 3B2, work sessions. The city council shall meet at least once per month preceding the regular meeting, except when in recess. Work sessions are held at the first Monday of each month at 7 p.m. in the council chambers or virtually. These meetings are open to the public for viewing. Public comments are not received at the work session. Resolutions and ordinance may not be voted on for passage. Section 3B3, public hearing. The city council holds public hearings on the second Tuesday of each month when there is legislation to be voted on, when it is considered a subject having unusually high community impact, and when it is considering items for which local, state, or federal regulations mandate such hearings. If none of these conditions apply, the city council will cancel the public hearing. Section 3B4, regular meetings. The city council shall meet at least once per month following the work session and public hearing when applicable, except for when in recess. Regular meetings are held the third Monday of each month from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. in the council chambers or virtually, as determined by the council. Regular meetings are open to the public for comment during the designated comment period. Resolutions and ordinances are voted upon. Section 3B5, special meetings, change in reference number only. Section 3B6, emergency meetings, change in reference number only. Section 3B7, closed meetings, changed in reference number only. Section 3B8, meeting attendance, change in reference number only. Section 3B9, meeting minutes, change in reference number only. Section 3B10, meeting agendas. Agenda preparation, all documents or verbal information to be included in the council agenda for council meetings are to be delivered to the council clerk by Tuesday, prior to the week of the work session or public hearing when applicable, or regular meeting. After preparing a draft agenda, the council clerk shall consult with the council president to determine the final agenda items. The final agenda will be presented to the full council by Wednesday prior to the week of the work session or public hearing when applicable, or regular meeting for confirmation. Distribution of the final meeting agenda shall then be made to the mayor, city manager, and each council member, and the public via public channels such as the website, email, cable station, social media, marquees, etc. By Thursday, prior week to the week of the work session public hearing when applicable, or regular meeting. Section 3B11, order of business. At the previously agreed hour of each meeting, The city council, mayor, and council clerk shall assemble at the appropriate location at the business of, and the business of the council shall be considered with the following agenda. Work session, call to order, invocation, roll call, motion to adopt agenda, review of minutes, discussion of proposed legislation, discussion of mayor, city manager, treasurer, and chief of police reports, other discussion, adjournment. The public hearing. Call to order, invocation, roll call, motion to adopt agenda, read legislation, present topics, citizens' comments and questions on specific legislation or specific topics, 5 minutes, adjournment. Regular meeting. Call to order, invocation, roll call, motion to adopt agenda, approval of minutes, discussion, read and vote on proposed legislation, administrative report presentation, other discussion, citizen comments and questions, adjournment. This resolution shall take effect immediately following approval by the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
The move by Councilwoman Guillaume, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Fareed. Any discussion?
Yes, yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring.
Page 2, line 13, where it says that the meeting will be held 7 o'clock in the council chambers. That's downstairs. We never held work sessions. Work sessions are informal meetings, and they should not be held in the formal setting of the council chambers. They should be held either in the conference room upstairs, or they can be held in the gold room if people need to social distance. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and I think it definitely should say, in work sessions, there are no formal actions or votes taken. I think that needs to stay in these rules and regulations, because it isn't fair to sit there and say, have a work session and then vote on stuff. And the citizens don't know. People don't really attend the work sessions. They attend the regular meetings. And honestly, I think I would have needed to go over these again, because again, I thought these were coming back to the work session, the last work session, and we could have went over them again to look at them instead of having a work session here on the floor. But those are, I mean, there's some other items in here too, but I'm not going through the whole thing. I need to compare it to what we have and have some more discussion on why we're doing what we're doing. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones. Councilwoman Jones.
Pass.
Okay. Councilman Herring.
Saying,
Councilman Hairston.
Abstain.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Just to be clear, what are we saying yes or no to, or pass?
To the passage of this resolution.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson.
Actually, I don't have the resolution with me, but will you be making changes to where Councilman Herring said that the work sessions will be in the chamber? Councilwoman Fareed.
So this is a new change that's been made. I have literally made every change that we have talked about in all of the sessions that we have discussed this. So this is the first I'm hearing that we want to change that to say the conference room. I'm fine with that. I mean, it's the location of where it's going to be. I think when we had discussed it, it was to allow for that social distancing in case citizens did want to attend the work session, as well as, just the council itself wanting some space when we're having these meetings. So, I mean, if we want to say in the conference room, that's fine. But like I said, we have discussed this resolution for many months now, and every change that we have discussed has been made.
Okay, I don't remember that being discussed, and I didn't remember it was being there. So, and I guess if we need to, we can go into the go room. So if that's going to be changed, yes.
Curtis
Yes.
and Councilwoman Jones.
Once again, this was another one of these resolutions that should have been brought back to the work session for another discussion after it was completed. I kind of agreeing with Councilman Herring concerning location and also concerning the wording and line 12 on the second page. There are no votes or any formal action taken in a work session. And I think that should be clarified. So with that, my vote is no.
Okay, we have 4 yes, this is passed.
Thank you. Next up is the resolution to establish a speed bump pilot program. Madam Clerk.
This is resolution number R22, 2022, sponsored by James A. Herring, Councilman, co-sponsored by Angela D. Ferguson, Council Vice President, and Maurice A. Harrison, Councilman. The public hearing was held Tuesday, April the 19th, 2022. The regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. A resolution to establish a speed bump pilot program. Whereas President Joe Biden signed a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act to aid public health and economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to the states, who is then distributing funds to municipalities. And whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted the one-time option to use the ARPA funds as lost revenue. And whereas this option allows more flexibility when it comes to addressing city needs. And whereas speeding throughout the city has become a major issue. And whereas it is imperative that traffic be slowed on residential streets in order to protect citizenry. And whereas speed bumps can be an effective way to slow traffic on residential streets, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows. That a speed bump pilot program be established, that streets in each ward be selected for the program, that the city will place heavy-duty rubber speed bumps on the streets selected for the pilot program, that $25,000 be provided from the ARPA funds to cover the cost of speed humps.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Ferguson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Herring. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr.
It should be a
Harris?
last line on page 2 at the or at the bottom of page 1. It says this resolution shall take effect immediately following approval by the city, by the council.
Okay,
That line is missing, so that needs to be added.
all right. Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, to vote with the amended changes that Councilman Herring just stated.
Sure. Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes,
Thank you. We have 7. This is passed.
okay, thank you. Next up, a resolution to retain engineering services for stormwater management R 23/2022. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number R 23, 2022, sponsored by James A. Herring, Councilman, co-sponsored by Maurice A. Harrison, Councilman. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, session, regular session. Date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. A resolution to retain engineering services for stormwater management. Whereas President Joe Biden signed a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act to aid public health and economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to states who is then distributing the funds to municipalities. And whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted the one-time option to use the ARPA funds as lost revenue. And whereas this option allows for more flexibility when it comes to addressing city needs. And whereas Glenarden Woods Elementary was renovated, and whereas with the renovation, there now seems to be major stormwater runoff from their property. And whereas the stormwater runoff from the school is now affecting the residents' properties that reside on Fifth Avenue. Now they're being resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows: that engineer services be acquired to provide a cost assessment for stormwater remediation, that the cost assessment includes homes on Fifth Avenue between Tyler Street and Glenarden Parkway, that the cost assessment, that the cost assessment will also verify the owners of the properties that borders those homes along Fifth Avenue, that the final report contains a scope of work that will allow the city to put the services out to bid, that $50,000 be provided from the ARPA funds to cover the cost of services.
All right, I do a motion to bring this resolution to the floor.
So move.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Yes, Council President. I have,
Councilman Jones.
yeah, Councilman Herring, was the water issues on Dalewood Avenue ever addressed? I don't think they were ever addressed for some residents in the 79, I think it's 79, 24, 25 area of Dalewood Avenue that were having water issues from I think it was from the possibly from the businesses behind. If that was their issue or was that our issue? Can we include Dalewood Avenue if they're still having the issues with water?
I think that'd be a good idea because what happened before is that the county actually did come out, and it was a major. It was two problems. One problem was that there was a swell that was actually built that was, I think, was blocked up. The water wasn't running into it. And the other issue was that the homeowners extended their fence past their property line and covered up that swell that was running it along the back of their houses into the creek back there. So I think that's a good idea. I think we should. I don't think we would need to add another $50,000 just to get them to look at that. But I think that's a good idea. So we can kill two birds with one stone. Yeah, but that was the major issue was the homeowners, you know, putting their fences back there further past their property line, extending their yard across the swell that was for the rainwater runoff.
Okay, so if that was if that ends up being continued to be the issue, then that would not be the city of Glen Arden's issue. It would be the homeowners would have to survey their properties and move the fences back to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and one homeowner actually cemented the sewer. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it'd be the homeowner's responsibility at that point, you know.
Okay, but I mean, do you think is that something that we want to look into as a city?
I think we should
to make sure that they're not that the if they're still having issues that they are addressed.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think I would like to add that in here. Just, I mean, and if we can find out that it's a runoff from the owners of the property behind them, then we can get them to remediate it, and we won't have to worry about it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we should add that to this piece of legislation. So wherever it says Fisk, I would say Fisk and Dalewood.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Oh, yeah, Mr. President, and the same thing at the end of this one, the same thing that line, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage by council.
Okay.
Needs to be added.
And so what I've just heard is that the on the floor, the discussion, the current resolution is going to, 1, include Dale Avenue, 2, include another $50,000, and 3, add the verbiage at the end. With that, if there's no other discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll call on passing this resolution with the 3 amendments?
President Curtis?
I'm
Sorry.
sorry, Councilwoman Fareed?
Yeah, I did have discussion. Do we need to do anything additional since we're adding another $50,000 to it? Do we need to have more discussion, get public comment? $50,000 sounds like a lot to just add in right now as we're about to vote on it.
Good question, Councilwoman Fareed.
Let me say, I mean, I think since it's ARPA funds, I don't think so. I mean, it's $4.3 million in ARPA funds. I can see if it was literally city's tax dollars, we may want to, but I mean, with grant money, I mean, you use it for what you need it for. You got to use it. I mean, but if the council wants to do that, they're welcome to do that. I don't see the reason for holding up the process. My thing is get the I mean, if it was tax dollars, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that because the citizens may have a big say in that. But this is grant money given to us through the federal government. So whatever the council wishes to do.
And I'll add that even though we know that there's an issue on Delwood, there's been an issue on Delwood Avenue with water. If they go in and find out that some of the issues have been addressed or not been addressed, it may not cost, the cost may not be 50,000. It may be 13 or 15, maybe 20. We don't know. But the 50 would ensure that whatever the issue is, that we can have it addressed for all 3 streets, because they've been having water issues for a while.
Are these the, I'm sorry, Councilman Freed, was that all?
I'm just gonna say, are we sure that those are the only streets?
Yeah. That's my question.
Let me say, I know in Ward 1, those streets those really seriously need to be looked at because they have serious runoff issues. Those homes are back up to major hills and major businesses who have major parking lots where all the water is running off and running straight down the hill. So those 2 locations are in my ward are some of the worst, and they all feed down into the springs that we have in the city that's causing flooding along those homes. So I know from what I've heard from my citizens, those are the 2 biggest places we have over here.
Is it possible that in this, they check to see if there are other places in the city? Like, could that be part of, make the study more comprehensive? So that if there are other places that need to be, we can.
Yeah, and I think, the city sits on a number of springs, and I think that that can be done if citizens need to reach out to the city to let us know if they're having flooding problems. That's the only way we're going to know, is if we hear from the citizens. We've heard from the citizens on Delwood, and we heard from the citizens on Fisk. I know one other place on Tyler, but the county actually addressed that issue. So those citizens we've heard from. So we can do that if citizens let us know that they're having flooding problems in their basement. But we also got to remember that the city does sit on a lot of springs, and some of it we can't remediate because of the spring issue. So, they can look at it and see. That's what council wants to do.
And I can't think of any other places in the city that have the issue that those 3 streets have with water.
Right.
Okay.
They addressed that area that when Woodmore was built, the houses in Woodmore were built right there at Glenarden Park, where they put a big wall up behind some of those houses to address any water issues that they would have.
Well, then can we make this generic? While we know we're going to target Dale and Fisk, can we just make it generic for just the city? So if there are any other streets that come up, that we could service them in the study, because this is just the cost to make an assessment, right? This isn't the remediation portion of it.
Correct. But I don't want those 2 streets to be neglected by spreading this too thin.
No.
If we're just gonna be looking, but I don't want them to be neglected. Because again, my whole thing is to find out exactly who owns the property that's adjacent to that property. Who owns it, to see if we can get them to actually remediate it. And that might take a little bit more digging than we know. So, because everybody's pointing the fingers now. So, all right.
So the amended resolution as it stands is that we'll make it generic for the entire city with the 2 first priority will be the Fisk and Dell, and that we add $50,000 to it. Not that it will cost $100,000, but that we have enough funding in there just in case. And then if we need to, we could come up with another resolution if needed to add funding. Does that make sense? Any objection to that?
Okay, so that'll be Fisk, Delwood, and Tyler are the first 3 streets, or it was Fisk, Tyler, and then Delwood Avenue.
Correct, but with it brought out to the city after those are done, if there are any other places to pop up, just giving them the bandwidth to check those as well. All right, with that, Madam Clerk, a vote to pass this resolution with those amendments. And again, the
Yes.
amendments are, it's citywide with the top priority of Fisk, Tyler, and Delwood, increasing the funding to $100,000 and adding the verbiage at the end.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
All right. Next up is Resolution R 24/2022, resolution to retain the engineering services for street paving. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number R 24/2022, sponsored by James A. Herring, Councilman, co-sponsored by Maurice A. Hairston, Councilman. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Session, regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. A resolution to retain engineering services for street paving. Whereas Joe Biden signed a 1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act to aid public health and economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to the states, who is then distributing the funds to municipalities. And whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted the one-time option to use the ARPA funds as lost revenue. And whereas this option allows for more flexibility when it comes to addressing city needs. And whereas the streets in Ward 3 have yet to be paved, and there are streets in Ward 1 and Ward 2 that have major pothole damage. And whereas to ensure the safety and protection of citizens and their property, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows: that engineering services be acquired to provide a cost assessment for street repaving and repair, that the cost assessment includes the complete paving of all streets in Ward 3 that have not been paved, that the cost assessment includes the repair and repaving of streets in Ward 1 and 2 that have pothole damage, that the final report contains a scope of work that will allow the city to put the services out to bid, that $50,000 be provided from the ARPA funds to cover the cost of services.
Okay. Do I have a motion to bring this to a floor to vote?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Herring. Discussion, Councilwoman Jones.
Yes. This resolution, I understand why well, in some ways, I don't really understand why it's being brought forth, because we have in 2020 gotten Charles P. Johnson and Associates to do an assessment of the streets. I still have the assessment for Oak Knoll Drive over in off of Barlow Road that has not been addressed. Ward 3 street project, citizens are looking at this as a slap in the face because we already have an assessment. It's just that the administration has not moved on getting the work done. And we as a council maybe have not put more money in the budget every year to ensure that the streets were done. Now we had the from First Street to, I think, 3rd Street done. And then we had Barcroft, LaVale and LaVale Court, part of Gary done last year, but we still have not completed Cousins, Jeff Road, Tyrol, and 11 through 4th Street and Glenarden Parkway. I mean, there's already engineering assessment already done for those streets, but the administration seems to be dragging their feet on getting these things done. This is a question that's asked of me all the time. When are they going to finish the Ward 3 street project? This has been going on before I was in the council, before I was on the council. Councilwoman Pfeiffer would always ask when Ward 3 streets going to be done. Ward 1 has had 2 repairs and repaving. I know there are some holes over there in Ward 1, one on Carker Avenue that I know of. In front of Reuben Reed's house, there's a hole there, and there's holes other places that probably need to be redone. But to go and do a whole assessment all over again, especially for Ward 3, when there's an assessment on file, that we could just go ahead and get the repaving done for Ward 3. To go and do this all over again, it's like we're dragging the process out. That's the issue that I have with this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
The reason why I bought this legislation is just because of what Ms. Jones has said. Right now, I can tell you there's not enough money in the budget to do the rest of the streets in Ward 3. And with the increase in prices, that's what happened last time we did streets. We had gotten a cost assessment, and when the oil prices rose like they did right now, it almost tripled, quadrupled the price of the street paving. And I just want to get a cost assessment as soon as possible. I mean, it's not something we have to drag our feet on, so that we can be sure that we have the money. Right now, the money is in the budget because we have the ARPA funds. We've already approved those funds. So my thing is just make sure we have enough money in that we know the full cost of the assessment, so that when we put it out to bid, there won't be any surprises. So that's all I'm saying, because the cost assessment that we got previously, I guarantee if it's over 2 years old, if it's over a year old, and with the rate that the price of oil going up the way it is, because Blacktop uses crude oil to make it, it's probably done doubled or quadrupled. So I'm just trying to make sure that we know the actual price, so that when we put out an RFP, we put out an accurate RFP, and that we can move straight forward and get this done and complete it. And even if we can find a government vendor, it'll just be that quick. There's no need to put it out there, and then the price is going to change on us once they look at it. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen it happen before in the city, where a job was valued at Ward 3 streets were valued at the repaving of Ward 3 streets was, I think it was $250,000 or something like that, $300,000, I think it was. When the Gulf War broke out, when the war broke out and oil prices went high, I don't know which war it was, it went up to $1.5 million. And that was in a matter of months. You know, so I'm just saying, I would rather be sure we know the price, so that when we do the RFP or whatever we got to do, that we know what we're working with. Because I mean, if it's like it was last time, $1 million of that may go toward 3 streets alone for paving. And I'm just saying, you know, I'd rather cover all the bases and get the price assessment. I mean, it shouldn't take that long to get a cost assessment. If they did it before, they should be able to roll through it again with no problem, and just dropping the new numbers for the price of crude or the price of blacktop. I mean, it's perfect timing to do it right now. We're in early spring. We still got a lot of time, but I don't want to waste too much time, because, you know, let's say, you know, it'll be November, and we will be not having Ward 3 streets done again. So I just think we need to move forward right now with a cost assessment and see what's what.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Thank you, Council President. I just had a quick question, then I have a comment. The question that I had is for Councilwoman Jones. Councilwoman Jones, the assessment that you referenced, when was it done?
This was the date on it sent back to the city manager at the time was February 3rd, 2020. And it was $36,000 just to do that part of the assessment of Oak Knoll Drive. And that's over in Ward 2.
Ward 2. Okay, thank you.
I do have the Ward 3 project, but I don't have the document right now. I would have to go back to get them to resend it for the whole Ward 3
No,
project.
that's helpful. I just wanted to know which year it was to see how dated or not dated it was. So thank you for that. And so my comment, so thank you, separate from that, but it kind of goes with an overall theme with how we're moving here. And maybe this is something that we should discuss maybe another time. I don't know, but we are taking way too long to move things forward. You know, to know that this was an issue since 2020 or even before then, and we're now 2022 and we're still discussing something, a resolution has to be brought forth so we can go back and do an assessment just so we can see what the cost is, so we can actually address it. So to me, that's a huge concern of mine. I think all of us, we made a commitment to listen to our citizens and to basically put things forth, you know, that they see as problematic or they just see as being advantageous to them. But what typically happens is we take way too long to move things forward. And I'm actually frustrated because hearing that this assessment was done and we now have to be quite honest, I'm speaking for myself, we have to basically do another assessment because that is dated. You know, and the other part to that also is we can't keep doing things, we can't keep moving forward. And this is a general, I'm not directing this towards any council person in particular, nor am I even directing to the administration, but I am saying combined elected officials. We can't just keep doing half piecemeal stuff. Like 1 minute we're doing the assessment, then we don't focus on anything else as far as implementation. It has to just keep moving forward because right now we're going to still keep doing things over and over and over again, and the problem is going to keep remaining the same. So I just want to go on record and say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guillaume. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Oh, 1 second, Mr. President, before we vote, we do need to add that same line at the end of this one also. This legislation should take effect immediately.
Yes, I've noted that.
Oh, okay, thanks. All right.
Councilwoman Jones.
Councilman Herring, thank you so much for the clarity. My vote is yes.
Thank you. Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilman Hairston.
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
Okay, next up is Resolution R25, 2022, resolution to establish a health and wellness committee. Madam Clerk.
Okay, resolution number R25, 2022, introduced by Erica L. Fareed, council member, co-sponsored by Kathleen Guillaume, council member, and Maurice Hairston, council member. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, session, regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. A resolution establishing a health and wellness committee. Whereas the city council is empowered to provide, maintain, and operate community and social services for the prevention and promotion of health, recreation, welfare, and enlightenment of inhabitants of the city. And whereas the city council's desire to establish a committee to identify programming to promote the health and wellness of city residents of all ages. And whereas the city council's desire to have a committee that can make recommendations to the city on infrastructure improvements that will promote the health and wellness of city residents of all ages. And whereas the city council desires to have qualified individuals who can engage with county and state health agencies to understand any directives related to COVID-19 and provide recommendations to the city on how to implement any directives. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May, 2022 as follows. The committee shall consist of at least 5 and no more than 7 members who are Glenarden residents and have experience in medical or other health and wellness fields. The term of the committee members shall be 2 years from the date of confirmation, except for the chairperson and vice chairperson, who shall serve for 3 years to ensure continuity. The committee members may be nominated by the city council or mayor and shall be confirmed by the city council. The committee shall establish its bylaws for approval and adoption by the city council. The committee shall select a chairperson and vice chairperson from amongst its members.
Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor to vote?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
A second by Councilman Harrison. I heard him first. Discussion?
Yes,
Out.
President.
Councilman Harry.
Question. So, so we're going to have these 2 3-year terms, these 3-year terms and 2-year terms. I thought we were looking at having just everybody having the same term. I don't understand the staggered terms.
Yeah, so the staggered terms is a common practice at, the term, so it's pretty common. And that it was to ensure continuity so that the committee wasn't starting from scratch all the time. With this committee just now being established, that was the idea. If anyone has another idea on how we can ensure that there's continuity and that, whatever programs are started, if once those terms are up, that we can continue them, particularly if they're going to be events that we want to hold annually or, just initiatives that take place over a longer period of time.
Okay, now I guess my question is, so is this is an advisory committee?
Yes, I believe I changed the name. It should say on the resolution,
Oh, okay.
advisory committee.
Yeah, it doesn't. It says yeah, because again, I mean, they're going to bring ideas to the council, and then it's going to be up to the mayor and the council, and it's up to us to initiate them or get them moved like we sent to do. So
Yeah.
I mean, even with the stag, so it doesn't really seem like you really need to have the staggered terms, because our rules do say that once a person is on a committee, they're on a committee until they're replaced or they resign. So, it seems like, because we've had people sit on committees for a while now because positions haven't been filled if they choose to continue to serve. But so they can continue. It isn't like their 2 years are up and they automatically drop off. It's out. The charter allows for them to continue sitting until they are replaced. And I think that also would give you the continuity. I just think when I've seen with staggered terms, people get lost in the shuffle and people lose legislation. We've actually had that issue with Housing Authority when they had staggered terms over there, trying to figure out, okay, who's up, who's not up, because it's term staggered and nobody knew what the legislation was. It can be something, so I just was wondering about that.
I'm sorry, when you say where the legislation was, you mean like the resolutions to
Actual
for the individual?
resolutions, yes, actual resolutions were gone, and we had to figure out what happened. We had to kind of like piece it back together, find some minutes or something to find out whose term was actually up. Where are we at? Should this person be on? Should this person not be on? Are they 5 years up? We think they may be up, but then we had to find the legislation. We couldn't find legislation. So that has happened before. So, but the Housing Authority is completely different. The county requires staggered terms for them. So, but with the city, it seems like they do have the option to sit on there and continue moving forward. And again, if the council is appointing, the council can hold somebody on there if they want to continue to serve. We feel that's what they need to do to keep that continuity going. So. This is my suggestion.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Any other discussion?
Question. Have we identified any persons within the city that are available to work on this committee?
No, because the committee hasn't been established yet. Do we typically identify the people when establishing the committee?
No, not necessarily, but I was thinking if you already had some people that were interested, since they had been hearing about this establishing a health and wellness committee, or now you say it's an advisory committee to the city of Glenarden. I was just wanting,
I have at least one citizen who reached out and wanted to volunteer, and that's her background. So I would, say that she would be someone that could be nominated for it. But no, I have not solicited.
I just didn't want it. I'm sorry. I just didn't want it to get like the youth committee where we've identified one person and then I haven't heard of anyone else coming, so that the committee can, I think it requires 5 people for that committee also. And we haven't gotten anyone else to confirm to put on there. So I'm sure that committee is just sitting in limbo. So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other discussion? All right, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
yes,
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes,
We have 7. This is passed.
thank you. Next up, Resolution R26, 2022, a resolution to use ARPA funds for the 7th Street Park. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Resolution number R26, 2022, introduced by Erica L. Fareed, council member, co-sponsored by Angela D. Ferguson, council vice president. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Session, regular session. Date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is a resolution to utilize American Rescue Plan Act funds for a playground at 7th Street Park. Whereas Article 6, Section 602A 41 of the city charter gives the council express power to establish and maintain public parks, gardens, playgrounds, and other recreational facilities and programs to promote health and programs to promote the health, welfare, and enjoyment of its inhabitants of the city. And whereas 7th Street Park is lacking proper equipment to promote health, welfare, and enjoyment of its inhabitants of the city. And whereas the city of Glenarden has been awarded funds under the American Rescue Plan Act, and whereas the United States Department of Treasury has issued a frequent asked question document updated January 2022 that clarifies use for the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Whereas the United States Department of Treasury FAQ question 2.18, would investments in improving outdoor spaces such as parks be eligible use of funds as a response to the public health emergency and or its negative economic impacts, allows for an investment in parks, public plazas, and other public outdoor recreation spaces in response to the need of disproportionately impacted communities by promoting healthier living environments and outdoor recreation and socialization to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows. The city manager will obtain 3 competitive proposals for playground installation within 30 days of the passing of this resolution. The 7th Street Park shall be included as an area of spend in the city's report to the U.S. government on the use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage by the council.
All right. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for vote?
So move. I second.
Move. Thank you. Moved by Ms. Jones, second by Councilman Fareed. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring.
Yeah, 30 days doesn't seem like it's realistic to do get a proposal for a playground. I mean, I guess my thing is, I know when we did the MLK Park, it took almost 30 to 60 days just to get this conceptual site plan done, because we wanted to reach out to the people and see what they wanted. And because if the city manager gets a proposal in 30 days, I mean, what criteria is she using? What is she going to use? I know we got the one grant, but I thought we were going to try to build out the whole park. So don't we need a conceptual site plan done on what we want, how we want to lay it out? And does everything fit in that park that we're looking at? Also with the grant that we're looking at obtaining also? I think that's going to have to be the first step. And then we can give a timeline on proposals. I think something needs to be on paper before that proposal to even take flight. Because we have nothing. I mean, you can say you want something, but then you're going to charge, what's going to happen is they're going to give you a proposal based on what they want to give you. If you go to the vendor and say, give me a proposal on this park, they're going to give you the most expensive stuff in the world instead of us saying, this is what we would like to get, and hunting for vendors to give us what we would like to see. So I just think we need to have something in there where we spend some money on a landscape designer or something or someone to get some type of conceptual site plan done, a layout, so that we can at least shop that around for proposals.
So that's a good point. What I saw from the different companies who sent me, like the different companies that do the playgrounds, that's part of it. The design is part of the proposal. So if you think though that we need to break that into 2 steps, that's fine. But typically, or at least the few that had reached out to me about putting a playground there, that was part of their kind of offering, right? Like they sit down with you, it gets designed, and then that's the proposal that they present. And it needs to be done in conjunction with the grant that's already there, that calisthenics equipment, so that we can know exactly where it's going to go, to the point that you made last week, right? We don't want that in the middle and then there's no space for the playground area. So the whole park needs to have a layout that we can approve.
May I follow up on that? So,
Yes,
Councilwoman Fareed, so will the company that we get a proposal from, will they be willing to work with another company for another part of the park? That's what I'm saying,
That is a good question. When this resolution was put out, we didn't know about the grant yet. So I wasn't thinking that we had another space to work with. So I think, maybe the city manager can weigh in on that, but I don't even have, I'm sorry, I don't have the names in front of me because I gave all the materials to the city manager for the different park.
What I don't want to see is a big low impact space with a little bit of, children.
Right.
I want it to be a true park for the kids.
Right.
What it was before. So
right.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you need to get your own person to draw it up for you so that you can sharp that to them and say, hey, this is what we're looking at now. We got this grant. How can y'all fit into this layout that we're looking at? So
So if you think if we need more time, so let me just make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. It sounds like you're saying 30 days is not long enough. We need a longer time, and we need to add a provision in there that we get the design done and then submit or put the request out for proposals.
yeah, I think that'll probably work better.
Okay.
I think it'll give people also give you a chance also to talk to some of the citizens in the council, to talk to the citizens in your ward to see what they actually want over there. What type of equipment do they want? They like to have some input in it. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, and I've seen some other communities that do, other municipalities who have done like community design sessions where they've gotten impact. So I think that is a good idea. My purpose there was to just put some urgency around this. I don't want us to be next year or 2 years from now.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman
President,
Jones.
yeah, and with that, reading that resolution that was brought to the work session last week about that grant, that $30,000, we'll have to. It looks like we'll have to match it with the $142,000, but it doesn't. I have not been able to pull up any information on that grant other than the questionnaire that was given to apply for it. It doesn't. There's no background as to how, when, and where, or what you're supposed to, what the criteria is for this grant. It's just a questionnaire that they ask you in order to apply for it. There's no other information. Until we get that information, I'm not sure that $30,000 grant is even going to work for us as a city, because we may not want to match it with the extra $142,000 that's going to be required after we find out what it is that they want us to do. So, like you said, I would want to move forward with getting a conceptual site plan, with the space that we have, and finding out from the citizens, because I think on 7th Street, there's a lot of young children, maybe under the age of, the elementary school ages. So it might be more tailored to those children that's on the street and the parents that would be frequenting the park.
Yes, that's right. Those are children are elementary school aged over there.
Okay. Sorry. Any other discussion before we vote?
So no more discussion, but I just want to make sure I capture the amendments to this resolution. We're going to change it from 30 days to, I don't know, let's say 180 days. And we're going to add that we're going to get a site design.
So let me ask a question. So that's 6 months, right?
Yes.
June, July, August, September, October, November. I don't know if you want to do, it depends on how quick you're trying to get it in, because I'm telling you, if you do 180 days, you're going to run into November, you're going to hit the winter, and then you're going to have trouble getting it in.
I want to park right now. Like, we can literally get
if they could push it through, they get a landscape designer, they can get you something in 30 days, get the proposals out in another 30 days, and maybe in 90 days, be ready to vote on a company to do it,
Yeah. I mean, okay, we can shorten it to 90 days.
I was shortening it to 90 days. That way, May, June, July, August. So yeah, you hit August. So they still give you some nice months if you want when you want to get to put in. The last company that we talked to, I think they were saying it's like a lag time on getting these parks put in. So.
So we're changing it to 90 days, and then we're going to add a line in there to have a site design done, which is going to include the low impact portion as well as the playground portion. And then once we approve that, we'll move forward with getting a proposal for the work.
Yeah.
Okay. Council Vice President Ferguson.
Yes,
I just want to know if you wanted to add anything. You had any?
no, I concur with the suggestion from Councilman Herring.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk, to vote with the amendments just discussed.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes, with the amendments.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes, with amendments.
President Curtis.
Yes,
You have 7. This is passed.
thank you. Next up, Resolution R 28, 2022, a resolution authorizing a contract with Municipal Solution LLC to engage in conducting a compensation survey for staff. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number R 28, 2022, introduced by Derek D. Curtis, the second council president, co-sponsored at the request of the administration. Public hearing, Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Session, regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is a resolution authorizing a contract with Municipal Solution LLC to engage in conducting a compensation survey for staff. Whereas the mission of the city of Glenarden is to provide excellent services and provide employment opportunities to the community. And whereas it is the desire of the city of Glenarden to offer the best quality service and appropriate salary to its employees for providing those services. And whereas health insurance, transportation, and gas costs have risen significantly, especially within the past few years, and are expected to rise significantly more in the near future as other costs of living. Whereas these compensation issues adversely impact staff at the city of Glenarden, and whereas the city of Glenarden wishes to remain competitive in the market for all positions in its employee base, and whereas the city of Glenarden has issued a request for proposal for services by a qualified firm to determine and update the city's salaries and benefits, and whereas 2 offerers responded to the RFP with scope of work herein attached, and whereas staff has reviewed the proposals and Municipal Solutions LLC is the best offerer in terms of scope of work, price, and qualifications. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows: that the City Council does approve the conduct of a compensation study by the Municipal Solutions LLC to include all city employees with the intent of updating employee classification and compensation, and that the city manager is authorized to enter into a contract with Municipal Solutions LLC in the amount of $13,622. The foregoing the foregoing source of funds shall be line item 7131 10 10 10 professional services.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second by Councilman Fareed. Discussion,
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
Question on this, was this the only company that we get? I can't remember. Was this the only bid we got?
There were two.
There were two. Okay, and they're gonna give a compensation study for all the employees. And what then, after they do this? Is the city ready to move on this? On their recommendation?
Well, yes, but I'll let City Manager Barber talk about the steps. Ms. Barber?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so right after they complete the compensation and classification survey and contact all of our municipalities, jurisdictions are similar in size, they will come back with a proposal for each one of those positions. And what we will do is we will bring that back to the council hopefully before the budget is finalized, so that that can be included in the salaries portion of the survey, if you all choose to do that. Sometimes these surveys come back and they are too high, and so we have to reevaluate whether or not we want to include it in the budget, or whether or not we want to phase it in over a number of years to get to market value. So it just depends on what the survey comes back with as to whether or not it would be included in this year's budget.
Okay, because I guess my issue is gonna be this, because last year the council didn't want a tax increase. They didn't do a tax increase. So that's $77,000 that the city didn't get. So I'm wondering how we're gonna fund these tax increases, because right now we're basically our bare bone. I mean, even giving the 3% is cost of living adjustment is pushing it sometimes. So I'm just trying to figure out where the money gonna come from, and if the council is ready to, if they're not gonna act on it, why go through it? I mean, all you're gonna have is a bunch of disgruntled employees who, I hope they don't get the information before. I hope the information don't go out to the employees, you know. I hope it stays confidential until we're ready to move on it. But I'm just wondering if we're ready to act on this, and if the council's ready to do what they need to do to take these salaries up the way that if they come in higher, which a lot of times they do. From municipal government, it's going to, you know. But are they going to be looking at the budgets? Are they just looking at the population? Or are they going to look at the budgets also for each municipality?
Yes, I believe they look at both the population and the budgets, and they'll use a number of the ones that we've been contacted by for similar information from us.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right.
One other question. Professional services, the professional services line, does it even include this expense in it? Because normally when I think the last time I started saying, I know it was grant, I mean, for the lobbyists, for the engineering firm, and was this part of it?
I believe that when you all did the budget last year, this was not a proposed expenditure. However, under the terms and the similar nature of the work that's done, I believe it would fit well under professional services.
I'm not saying it's not professional services. I'm just saying, did we outline it? Because our budget is very detailed on what each line is spent on. You know, so
right. It was not outlined in last year's budget when you all did the budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Barber, just a follow-up question on that. Though it wasn't outlined, there is money in the budget for it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And okay. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Harry,
Abstain.
Yes, sir. Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses and 1 abstain. This is passed.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Resolution R 29/2022, a resolution to declare city property a surplus and approve auction or disposal of the property. Madam Clerk?
Resolution number R 29/2022, sponsored Derek D. Curtis, the second council president, co-sponsor at the request of the administration. Public hearing Tuesday, April the 19th of 2022. Session, regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. A resolution to declare the city property as surplus and approve auction or disposal of the property. Whereas the city's property has exceeded its useful life, and whereas pursuant to section 828 of the city charter, the mayor, with consent of the council, may declare any unusable, obsolete, or outmoded personal property or equipment belonging to the city as surplus property. Whereas these items can be declared as surplus property and sold to the general public or disposed as such, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022, has determined that the administration has declared the attached list of items as surplus property, which can be sold/disposed to the general public, to the highest bidder or offerer. The notice of sale of surplus property shall be made through periodic surplus lists placed in the municipal center and by circulation throughout the city with the monthly city meeting notice. The sale notice shall identify the means of acquisition to be sealed bid, informal offer on auction date. All revenues collected from the sale of surplus property shall be deposited with the treasurer. All surplus items which are to be sold as is, and no guarantee or warranty of any kind is provided. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for vote?
So moved.
So moved by Councilwoman Guillaume, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Jones. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
Why is, and this is for administration, why is the gold room, refrigerator, and freezer not on this list?
City Manager Barber.
I believe the one that I looked at on the website does have it on the list. It says double door refrigerator and single door freezer, and it has a serial number on it.
I don't know what I have. Unless it was, not unless there's a new list. The new list?
What we did send an updated list, yes, sir.
Okay. I wonder what's on the, I mean, is it on the legislation that we have online?
Yes.
It is, yes, sir.
Could you pull that up so I can at least see what I'm looking at? I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the one I had from last week. I didn't know it was an updated list. Could we scroll down to the list? Okay. All right, okay. Just was making sure that was on there. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Jones?
We could barely hear you, Madam Clerk.
Oh, Councilwoman Jones? You
Yes.
can't hear me? Okay. Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
You have 7 minutes passed.
Okay. Final two. Next up is Resolution R30/2022, a resolution to award Lanham Construction the contract for sidewalk repair and ADA ramp installation. Madam Clerk.
Resolution R30, 2022, introduced by Derek D. Curtis II, Council President, co-sponsored at the request of the administration. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Session regular meeting, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is a resolution to award Lanham Construction the contract for sidewalk repair and ADA ramp installation. Whereas it is necessary to repair and replace various sidewalks, as well as install curb ramps across the city of Glenarden to meet the American Disability Association standards. Whereas with the assistance of code enforcement, the administration has identified critical locations where sidewalk repairs and curb ramp installation have been deemed necessary. Whereas locations at Glenarden Parkway, Johnson Court, McLean Street, Wesley Street, 1st through 7th Street, and Irvin Avenue have been identified as needing repairs as soon as possible to avoid further damage and hazard to the public. And whereas the mayor and the administration of the city of Glenarden, in accordance with Section 819, has obtained 3 quotes attached hereto as Exhibit A, B, and C for consideration to award a sidewalk construction contract supporting the city of Glenarden. And whereas Lanham Construction has submitted the lowest quote proposal, number 21-649-R1, for the repair and installation of said sidewalks in the amount of $182,344, attached hereto as Exhibit A, which the city has determined was the most responsible and responsive proposal. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022 as follows: that the contract being and is hereby awarded as per the attached proposal to Lanham Construction for the repair of the proposed sidewalks attached hereto as Exhibit A in the total amount not to exceed $182,344, and shall be paid out of 9530-30-80-10 line item. The mayor and take such further action. I'm sorry.
Sorry, you froze there for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And take such further actions as may be necessary, appropriate, and advisable to effectuate the foregoing resolution. Lanham Construction Incorporated shall be required to file a certification of insurance with the city of Glenarden prior to the beginning of any work, and likewise make regular reporting throughout the project to completion. As no subcontractor was mentioned in the proposal, no subcontractor will be permitted for completion of work.
Okay. I have a motion to bring this to the floor for vote.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Guillaume, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Jones. Any discussion?
Yes, Council President.
Councilwoman Jones.
I'm sorry, on page 2, line 2, where it says the mayor or city manager, that should be just the city manager. Is hereby authorized and directed to execute the said proposal and take such further action as may be necessary, appropriate, or advisable to effectuate the foregoing resolution. It should be the city manager.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, to vote on the resolution with the amendment to cross out the mayor and only include the city manager on line 2 of page 2.
Mr. President, I do have one question. I just noticed this.
Mhm.
So,
Councilman Herring.
so who's authorized to sign the contract?
City manager.
The city manager can't sign contracts. Has to be the mayor or the council president. It doesn't say. Usually we have in here who is authorized. Usually we say the mayor or the city or the council president is authorized to sign the contract.
I thought the mayor was not able to enter into any contracts.
Without council approval. If we approve it with that language in there, she can. And that's what we normally have in our here is that the mayor or the council president can sign the contract because the city manager cannot sign the contract. She can execute the contract, but she can't sign it.
Well, the line that I'm speaking of is talking about executing the contract.
Right.
It's okay. So then another line should be put in if you want to. But I was under the last 4 years, this was all the discussion that the mayor cannot enter into any contracts.
Right, without council approval. You're correct. And that's why we always have in there that the mayor is authorized. We always give the mayor the authorization to sign a contract. And we say the mayor or the council president is authorized to enter into this contract.
But as far as execution, the mayor shouldn't be involved at all.
City manager.
Yeah. And I thought it was always the city manager that signed contracts. I didn't. This is news to me.
No.
Okay. So additional amendment to add a line saying that the mayor or city manager is authorized.
The mayor or council president.
Or council president is authorized to sign the project upon passage by the city council.
Yeah.
So city manager, please bring us to vote with those 2 amendments, please.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes. With the
Councilman Herring?
change.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
President Curtis?
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
Okay. Last resolution, R 31-2022, resolution approving award of contract for the replacement of the air conditioning system for the cable station. Madam Clerk.
Okay, resolution number R31-2022. Sponsor Derek D. Curtis II, Council President, co-sponsor at the request of the administration. Public hearing Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Session, regular session, date of introduction, Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is a resolution approving solicitation of quotes and award of contract for the replacement of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system for the cable station. Whereas it is the policy of the city of Glenarden that contracting agencies shall make every effort to construct public improvements at the least cost to the contracting agency. And whereas it is the policy of the city of Glenarden to maximize its efficient use of public resources and the purchasing power of public funds. And whereas the city of Glenarden Charter Section 826 allows for emergency solicitation may be exempt from the bidding requirements. And whereas it is still the fiduciary responsibility of the city manager to ensure that the best cost available is given to the city for goods and services. And whereas it is still the fiduciary responsibility of the city manager, to ensure that the best cost available is given to the city for goods and services, whereas 3 bids were submitted for the replacement of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems for the cable station. And whereas the apparent low bid for the project was the bid of Johnson Controls in the amount of $11,939. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 9th day of May 2022, has determined that the quote reference as the 2.5 ton Linux RTU replacement is accepted and is subjected to the contractor's warranty and other obligations pursuant to the contract. The city manager is hereby authorized and directed to enter a contract for the project as expediently as is practicable. The Public Works Acting Field Supervisor is to oversee the work and installation of the unit. The source of the funds is 10-60-60-7530 repairs and maintenance / building. That this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage of the City Council.
Motion to bring this to the floor for vote.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Hairston. Any discussion?
Okay, Councilman Herring, you're gonna help me out here. I'm sorry, Council President, I do have discussion. I do stand corrected. Section 404, powers and general duties, it does say that the mayor cannot enter into any contract except authorized by the City Council. So now how do we clean this one up online? We're saying on line 36 of the first page that the city manager is hereby authorized and directed to enter a contract for the project as expeditiously as is practical. Do we need to clean that one up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
that's
clean it up.
the same thing. The mayor
Yeah.
or the council president is hereby authorized.
By the council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman Jones, was that all?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That's what we needed to clean up. I'm sorry. Yes, that is. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, with the amendment that it is the mayor or council president that has the authority to enter the contract upon approval of the council.
Woman Jones?
Yes, with the amendments.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7. This is passed.
Okay, thank you. That is all the legislation that we have on the docket for tonight. We'll move right on. Next up is topics of discussion. Briefly, want to just alert the council about the constant yield rate forwarded to the council. It's tough to make a decision on it because we don't have the budget. Speaking of Mayor Cross, when do we expect to have the budget? Because it's getting late in the game.
The idea, Council President, is to have the budget ready for you by the middle of the month of May. We are now in our review in the administration. We've already taken one review. We will take another review tomorrow and then set up one more cleanup review after that, and then we'll be ready to progress forward. So by no later than the 3rd week of May, we should have something ready for you. And we will coordinate with the clerk to make sure that that gets on your calendar.
So the issue with that is one, thank you for your answer. The issue with that is with the constant yield rate, that is important to set because I think that goes into effect July the 1st. And so we have to give the citizens enough notice of if that's going to change, if it's going to, or what it's going to be. It's hard to establish that without knowing what the budget is and what the priorities are going to be for the city. Could we move that up? Because I don't think we have into the 3rd week of May if we're going to be able to. The council's going to be able to get the budget, review it, make necessary adjustments where needed, and make an informed decision on whether the constant rate is at a good place to cover some of the things that we want to do for the city. And I believe the budget was due on April the 15th, if I'm not correct.
I don't recall April the 15th, but with the date that was provided, that actually gives the council 7 weeks to review the budget.
So thank you for that. But we will also, in reviewing the budget, we'll have to determine on if we need to, like last year, if we need to increase the constant yield, reduce the constant yield rate, because as Councilman Herring stated earlier, we had this discussion last year and we decided not to move forward with it. And with a quote bare bones budget, it'll be tough to do some of the things that we don't even know what some of the priorities are. So you're asking the council to review in 7 weeks, but it's fair for the citizens to be able to know whether their taxes are going down, staying the same, or going up. And that's not enough time for us to adequately inform the proper authorities to send out the letters to the city so that the citizens can be informed and braced for whatever the rate is going to be.
Okay.
So again, that's why I asked if we could move this to have it to us by the end of this week.
Oh, that's where we are. I mean, I was proposing the 16th, but the 13th is just as well. But that gives you, again, the same amount of time that I mentioned earlier. For the citizens, we need to have this budget review recommendation by the 10th of June. That gives them literally, the time frame necessary to make comments and reviews and then come back for the vote. So
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said the recommendation is not later than the 10th of June for the citizens to have this report.
What report? The
budget, to have the citizens to have the budget, to see it. So that gives 3 weeks to the council to deliberate, to ask for clarity on any points. And then your discussion on your constant yield would be on the 10th of June. And then from the 10th of June, that is almost 1 day shy of 3 weeks to conclude and pass the budget ahead of July 1st. So the 13th is fine, Council President. We'll have it then.
Councilwoman Jones. You're on mute, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Jones, you were on mute.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Guillaume had her hand up before mine.
I apologize. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones, and thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say that this is the deadline for the budget is not something that the council imposed. It's in the charter. Section 803A, to be exact, says that submission of the budget should be given on or before the 15th day of April of each year. So I am extremely concerned that we are significantly delayed at this point. So I just wanted to say that this is something that we as a council did not make up. This is something that the charter states. So we're not imposing this deadline on the administration. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jones.
And also with the budget, once it's presented to us, there may be some areas or departments that need to have cuts that we might not deem are necessary. So we need time to also do that. The budget that's presented by the mayor may not be what the council will not be the pleasure of the council. So we'll have to do budget cuts and determine what departments we need to listen or see what has been offered or what they want of what is being asked for. And then we as a council determine whether those things go into effect. So we need time to also do those things to bring clarity to that budget. Because sometimes it could be like a candy store budget where you just walk in and everybody just grabs everything they want. So we have to be the persons, the council is the persons that will say yes or no to certain things. And we need an opportunity to do those, to have that cleaned up also. Thank you.
Any other comments by the council?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harris.
There's a whole process for this constant yield tax rate. We got to advertise it, and after we advertise it, we got to vote within between 7 and 21 days. We got to have a public hearing to the citizens between 7 and 21 days. And there's a specific way you got to advertise, and it's been a specific amount of time, which I think is 2 weeks. It has to be advertised for 2 weeks in a paper of general circulation. So it isn't just we're going to accept the constant yield. You got to follow, and these are all state mandates. So the treasurer needs to get with the state taxing authority because it's all outlined there. Even the advertisement has to be a certain size. If it's not that certain size, you're in violation. So all of that has to be. Right now we're like cutting it close. So either you're going with a number in your budget right now that has a constant yield tax rate in it, or you're going with a number that doesn't have the constant yield tax rate in it, which is the higher number. So if you're going with the higher number, you need to let us know, and then the council needs to consider that, and that needs to be advertised. So it isn't just we don't have till June 10th. We gotta vote on this by no later than the constant yield tax rate, no later than the 17th, I think it is. So we gotta advertise it first before then. So we might be right up against the deadline at the rate we're going, because we're in May. So you got to advertise, you got to vote on, you got to have a public hearing within 7 or 21 days after the advertisement. So I think you're looking at like 3 weeks right there. So we need to know what you're going to do with your budget. Are you using are you using a higher number in your budget? Or are you using a lower number in your budget? The council has to look at that. I mean, we got to see something, because other than that, we're going to end up not being able, we're going to end up with the constant year tax rate, which means you're going to get less money. When we may need more if we're going to go and do this salary, doing this salary, what you call it?
Assessment.
Assessment, yeah. So it's a whole drawn out process. It isn't just easy as saying this is what we want to do. Our state mandated on how this has to go. You have to notify the citizens. You got to give them a public hearing. The advertisement got to be a certain size. It got to have certain wording in it. All of that has to be in there. And a lot of it is predicated upon what your budget is. So I think the treasurer needs to really look at that and get with them like tomorrow and get in touch with, and not only keep the mayor in touch with what's going on, but also the council president, because we are responsible for advertising that.
Right. And I have some documentation from last year's advertisement of the constant yield that I'll send out to the council tomorrow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't just this, and then vote. Nope.
No.
So, all right.
And by all measures, we want to avoid what happened last year about the wrong letter going out, then another letter going out, and citizens were confused. Our citizens deserve more. And I don't want this to happen 2 years in a row. So the expectation is that, can we push it to Thursday at 5? Thursday, Mayor Cross, 5 p.m.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's fine,
All
Council President.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to administrative reports. Mayor, you have 5 minutes for your report.
So, thank you, Council President. Well, what I want to do is I want to go through and just acknowledge that we had the GS Proctor lobbyist coordination. For clarity, there is a need to have, with all of the resolutions that have been passed for ARPA funds use, there is a need to have a project manager that controls that piece. We did get another bid, but that bid was just $1,250 for just doing the management of the ARPA funds, which didn't include all of what we would get from the GS Proctor. So I would implore the council to, seriously consider that for $2,000, you get a lobbyist, you get someone who's actually going to negotiate for you and also manage and your ARPA fund money. We can put in the resolution that if they utilize a subcontract, then it will be out of the $2,000 that we pay them monthly. And that could be part of the resolution. That's just a recommendation. As it pertains to the Housing Authority, the council has been submitted 3 resolutions for appointments. I didn't see them in tonight's docket. Please note that is of tragic concern as of right now, because the Glen Island Housing Authority is moving forward with a grant process to renovate the Housing Authority, and several units there are in dire need of that renovation, and it needs a complete board, a current and complete board. As it pertains to other boards or commissions, we've also turned in 3 recommendations for the Ethics Commission. We're waiting on council to consider them, as well as there was a recommendation turned in for the Youth Department. I believe that recommendation was denied by council. So I just want to make sure that we clarify that there has been movement on behalf of the administration in those fields. But as you know, the administration doesn't make the confirmations, but we do make the recommendations. And we're also building a notification to do more advertisement. And City Council, please, if you have residents in your community that you want or know can fill these roles, bring those forward. It's not just on the administration. We've supported from the mayor's office 10 office calls, meetings. You'll see all of them. We ended up going to the Maryland Mayors Association, got the unique honor of meeting Governor Hogan and First Lady Yumi in a reception there at the mayor's house. Led several programs throughout this month of April, one being autism awareness, a very wonderful program set out by Charles Flowers, the High School Principal Actions Council, whereas the keynote to deliver visionary comments, change agents at the Mecca of excellence as we're looking at the graduating class of 2022. We are looking at also what community groups will the city council consider as groups that are afforded opportunities for support, i.e. the Glenarden Boys and Girls Club, the Glenarden Track Club. We're getting a lot of requests through the administration for, support from the city in these areas. And also, we do have our young football team as well as cheerleader team. So considering those for our children. We did get a chance to speak to DPI and the acting chief inspector relative to Woodward Town Center. There are several concerns as of right now before transitioning. We have permit running through January the 7th of 2023. And before those streets are conveyed, we have some runoff, drain, manhole problems, bib repairs. These things must be done by that contractor, Dr. Horton, else it is transitioned to the citizens and the homeowners association to essentially take the cost. So we definitely want to allow DPI to ensure Dr. Horton representatives makes those changes before we do that transition. A very unique opportunity to speak to We Model USA, which combats human trafficking and sex trafficking. It is literally the #2 globally growing crime over the last 20 years for humanitarian issues. That program happened there in Washington, D.C., but brought some significant awareness to the community overall of that particular problem. Master of Ceremonies for the Second Chance Returning Citizens. We are pushing with Prince George's as well for the National Returning Citizens Virtual Conference, ensuring our returning citizens are aware that with legislation changes, you do get the right to vote. So make sure that you're registering to vote. And then the Second Chance Awareness Month Expungement Fair happened there on the 30th. We have attended several different celebrations across this month, as well as executed proclamations that went out to a sum total of about 9 proclamations, and we have a few that's still upcoming. You'll see them in the report. As we go forward, we thank the City Council for formally doing approving the legislation to get our streets and our sidewalks ADA compliant. Again, the American Rescue Plan money for the stormwater runoff, I would like for the city to consider, as well as the City Council, to consider Frost community, who has had significant amount of water damage there in their basements. And I know we made a blanket statement in others. That is a significant and others, the council, please consider that. Your second quarterly community events calendar went out. I did get some complaints on the postcard being too small. We will and have taken that into consideration on the next iteration, but please, 301-773-2100, please, all of your complaints. We are formulating a database which helps us be more effective as a administration to support the community at large. We will look at May. This year's mayoral community forum this month will have mental health as one of its highlights. We will be supporting the first annual mental health expo at Judge Sylvania Woods for the school year of 22. And we are looking at that from May 26th, making sure everyone's aware that first annual mental health expo will be May 26th from 2:30 to 5:30 at Judge Sylvania Woods. So cannabis is something that's coming out, House Bill 1. It has been decided to legalize the adult use of cannabis. There's several bills in my report. I would implore the citizens and everyone to take a look at them, basically because, you know, as an advisory, it talks to various data, studies, and reports that are essentially providing the approval and passing, you know, the use of cannabis, legalization and regulations of cannabis use in the Equality Act. We are looking at the commanders in FedEx Field. There's been a lot of citizens asking what's happening with Landover Mall, what's happening with FedEx Field. For FedEx Field, Maryland will borrow as much as $400 million to revamp that area around the Washington Commanders FedEx Field. And I thought this was a significant piece. It's also looking at building residential, retail, as well as an entertainment hub around the Metro Blue Line. Many of you will remember we spoke heavily about Prince George's 2035, and that blue line is a significant piece of its evolution in the transient community as well. So you'll see that in my report. Employee surveys for salaries to facilitate recruitment. Thank you for considering that this evening as well, City Council. If there are any questions further, I would be happy to take those at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions by the council? Okay, and we'll allow the citizens to comment at the end if they have any questions, Mayor Cross. City Manager Barber, do you have any?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council and Mayor. So on the City Manager's report, we did last month in April review the code enforcement applicants and held interviews for that. We did choose a candidate that is going through the background process that we will be bringing to you all once that background process is completed. And this would be for the full-time position. That would be Tuesday through Saturday. Mr. Bennett will be continuing in his position as the Monday through Friday code enforcement officer. And then of course, Keisha Williams is our weekend code enforcement officer. So we'll bring that to you once the background check is completed. We did work on the surplus list and resolution that you all passed this evening. We appreciate that, and we'll get that out to the citizens for their review and bids. We did research some collection methods for the number of unpaid tickets in other jurisdictions. There are quite a number of other jurisdictions that find themselves similar to us with a lot of unpaid tickets, parking tickets, and the like. And we did not come up with a good solution for this. So we will continue to do some additional research in other jurisdictions to see what they are doing to bring in that revenue. We did talk about hiring a collection agency, but I know you all had talked about that, and that wasn't really met with a lot of positivity. So we will continue to look at other options with regards to that. I myself and CPJ engineer did meet and have a meeting with Dr. Horton about the underdrains at Woodward Town Center. Dr. Horton wants the council to sign a letter accepting the underdrains at Woodward Town Center. And so prior to having any discussion, we discussed this with the engineers, had our engineers go out to Woodward Town Center and look at the underdrains and to see if there are any issues. We did find some issues that are out there that we are now working with Dr. Horton in fixing those underdrains, which is stormwater issues out there at Woodmore Town Center. For the webmaster, was instrumental in pushing out the advertising for the City Shred Day and the closing and household drive on the website, social media marquee, e-notification, and cable channel platforms. She also has troubleshooted a number of occasions where the cable channel outages have occurred. We continue to work with the Verizon and Comcast and the Blackmagic vendor regarding those outages and the frequency of those. We'll provide a status update to the council once we have gotten some more information back regarding what is causing those outages. We did work with the executive assistant to get the cable station manager offer to you all. That was Mr. Rick Gray in Still Beach Productions. So you all have that information for your consideration. The Human Resources Department in the department, during April did purchase a third ADP clock for the community center, and that was finally set up this morning. There were a number of issues with the Wi-Fi out there and being able to have that time clock work off of the Wi-Fi. It actually had to be hardwired. So there is now a third ADP clock for employees to clock in at the community center, which will save time for them and a more accurate show of when they are actually showing up to work at the community center. Let's see, Gold Room crew member, eligible candidates were provided to the Gold Room coordinator and interviews were held. There was not a candidate that was selected for that position. We continue to work with the mayor on personnel manual updates and modifications. And we continue to get ready for the Municipal Solutions salary survey and also working on salary surveys from other jurisdictions. We onboarded the part-time code enforcement officer, Keisha Williams, and of course, onboarded our chief of police, Regis Bryant. Public Works has started cutting grass throughout the city. They also painted the chief's office and also painted the treasurer's office. They assisted with the new clock system at the community center being increased. And then we had a number of lawnmowers that had to go to the shop for necessary repairs. And they are now working on coordinating a welcome sign for Ward 3 at Woodmore. That will be something that will be ongoing until we get that project up and running. We're just looking at some budgetary constraints for that right now. They will start to coordinate some OSHA and landscape classes for the public works staff. And of course, we have the public works director position, which we will be hopefully conducting interviews here soon for that position. We did have a few candidates that met the minimum criteria for the position, and we will be interviewing for that position. Code enforcement, there were in the month of April, 1 new business license renewal, 10 notice of inspections, 9 sign permits, 13 citizen complaints, 34 citations issued, 6 stop work orders issued, 1 tow sticker, 1 inoperable vehicle issued, and 4 roll-off permits for dumpsters were issued. Like I said, we'll be very excited to bring on the new code enforcement officer once that clears the hurdles of background check and gets through the approval of the council. I welcome any questions at the end of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Barber. We'll move on to the chief's report.
Good afternoon, City Council and the Mayor. The chief reports for March 18th through April. We had 1 open warrant at Martin Luther King and Hubbard Road on a traffic stop where 2 weapons were recovered. Also, in addition to the arrests, the only other thing of significance I had on this report is that we had 2 snatch and grabs at the Snipe store at 9100 Woodward Center. In those incidents, you have several people that come in and do a snatch and grab. jump into vehicles and leave the premises. They're specifically targeting Puma menswear, and for the females, the Juicy Couture collection. The vehicle, the Toyota RAV that did a snatch and grab on March 30th, they were arrested in DC. Since then, I've spoken to the manager at Snipes, and they haven't recovered their property yet. But they have since hired a security guard to be a distraction, not to take any action, but to call the police in case something occur. That's the only thing I have of significance on the report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And for the council's awareness, the treasurer's report was a little bit delayed because the city treasurer was preparing for was reporting on the ARPA and getting ready for the budget. So, Mr. Stewart, if you're on, is Mr. Stewart on?
Yes, I'm on.
If you just want to give a high level report, we welcome it. Or if you wanted to, if
Yes,
you're prepared to give your report, that's fine.
I could just do a quick report. So this is the report of the city treasurer for the period ended March 31st, 2022. Revenues up to that time has been is at 6,968,000. Could you hold a second? Can I get to share my screen so I could show?
Oh, sure. Okay, I think you should be good now.
Nice.
If you can't, I'll share mine. There you go.
Nice. So the total revenues for that period or up to March 31st, 2022 is 6,968,000. We have expenses of 3,072,000, leaving us with revenues exceeding expenses by 3,896,599. The real property tax installment for, well, up through March has practically gone down. But I can tell you on a subsequent review, which is the month of April, we find that we had collections of 26,586, which represent a 770 that was a refund in March and a 27,357 for April. At the end of March, collections for general funds amounted to 4,406,713, where local taxes were 3,871,623, license and permits was 44,119, state grant was 109,987, service charges, which includes streetlights and special assessments, 271,875, and other source of income was 109,109. We had been working on personal property taxes, and personal property taxes we billed out in February and March. The collections was 132,604 for the period, the tax period 2021 to 2022. We also had collections in April coming up to 21,006. 10. Now I must explain and let you know that I have contacted the circuit court and have given out the balances which are outstanding for personal property tax. These are business personal property tax. They will flag anytime these businesses go to do business with the county or the state, they will flag them to realize that they have outstanding with the city of Glenarden, and they won't be able to do business until they pay up their balances. So I've had a lot of companies or businesses calling in to settle their balances, which I think is a good move so far. For the gold room, the gold room receipt went up for the month of March to a high of 9,985. If this continued, the gold room will be looking a lot better moving forward to the rest of the year. I will move into the cash balance. Right now, the city to date has a cash balance which is sufficient to pay all of its balance as they become due. The current bank balances at the bank as at May 2022, the main account has 9,336,823, forbearance of 7,078. Gold room has 119,988. Block grant has 4,198, and the cable PEG grant has 314,871. On April 28th, I was able to complete the reporting of the American Rescue Plan funds, and we have reported that we are going to be using all the 4,323,000 that we had asked for. I am looking forward to hearing about the different projects that we'll be working on with regard to the ARP funds. Right now, we are looking at the project for the HOA, the 7th Street Park exercise amenities, and we'll use some of the funds for gold room operations. The MLK Park, the open space grant, we have managed to recover 17,489 from the open space grant, which are funds that were used for the demolition at the park. Please note that we only have 147,000 remaining, and this must be claimed before September 2023. So whatever project we need to get done for the open space grant at the MLK Park, we need to move forward in getting those settled. Earlier, we spoke about the constant yield rate. Right now, in the budget, what I have used the constant yield rate that the county has sent to me. And with that amount, we were able, well, the budget as it stands right now is balanced, but we still have work to do on it. Therefore, if we need to assume the number that's there as the constant yield rate, we should be in good standing to use that. Apart from that, if we're using the constant yield rate for the year 2021, 2022, there will be a slight loss of $121,000. But we'll speak more on that as we move forward with the budget. I'll be meeting with the mayor and the city manager tomorrow, and we'll push to get the budget completed as the mayor has indicated. Thank you.
Thank you. You can stop sharing your screen now, please. Thank you. All right. Before we go to citizens' comments, just one point of clarification. Mayor Cross, to date, we just searched our records. We do not have any resolutions for appointments for the Ethics Committee or the Youth Advisory Committee. So that is not with the council to move on, as we have not received anything for that as of yet. So we look forward to whenever the administration can submit that to us.
Forgive me, Council President, we submitted emails. That's what we were told initially. You want the resolution or do you just want the emails? Because we did submit the emails.
We don't have emails, we don't have resolutions, we don't have anything relating to the Ethics Committee or the Youth Advisory Committee.
Okay, so we've been having email troubles with the cities from coming from outside email addresses. So we acknowledge that, and we have been working with T-Spec to work on that. So we'll send those out again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. And with that, we will now open up the floor. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, Councilwoman Ferguson. Ms. Ferguson.
Mayor Cross, are you using the city email address or you other emails?
So we've sent it from other emails, but also I'm going to check and see that city email because T-Spec raised the amount of space and also open up the emails to be able to receive it. So it shouldn't have been a problem, but I will follow up tomorrow and make sure those emails get returned from the city's account. Okay, I would have minus that if you used other emails that you would still use your city email as well, use both of them. Because I've heard several times you say that you have sent us emails and we have not gotten them at all. And so I would think also your suggestion for the Ethics Committee should be in a form of a resolution for each candidate. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just concur with Councilwoman Ferguson, Mayor Cross. If you submit them, your appointments in form of resolution, that'll make it quicker for the council to be able to go through them, as well as any support like their resumes or anything like that. So that'll be very helpful in moving this along. Okay, with this, we'll open it up for citizens' comments. Please raise your hand. And if you do not know how to get to the raise your hand, you can, unmute yourself and state that you have a comment, and that will call on you. The comments are only related to current legislation or the reports given by the administration in their reports, mayor, city manager, treasurer, or chief of police. With that, 5 minutes each. Ms. Smallwood, you are recognized. Ms. Smallwood, you're on mute.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You just put yourself back on mute. Let's see. Yeah, no, do it again. I think you're good.
Okay, my first comment for tonight is that the council is in violation of the Opens Meeting Act one more time. This week, I called the City Hall on Thursday, Friday, and today to pick up my package. My package was not available for me to pick up. So you are in violation one more time.
Thank you.
As far as the GS Proctor contract, I listened to council members give statements about that. They're giving out misinformation about GS Proctor. GS Proctor worked diligently with us on many occasions to get things done. Now, GS Proctor worked with us on annexation. He was trying to get the business on Arnold Road to annex within the city. Most of the businesses agreed with annexing into the city. The problem stopped is when Mr. Proctor came back to us and asked us, what are we offering the businesses if they annex into the city? The city could not come up, the council could not come up with a decision on what they wanted to offer. Some offered a 5%, a 5-year tax, no tax. Some wanted to go with 10 years, but we never came up with a decision. And after that, the former mayor took the project over, and that was the end of the project. Now, as far as the nutritional center, the nutritional center was never a venue to be rented. The money we got from the nutrition center from the county through agent.
Point of order, Ms. Smallwood, we're only talking about the current legislation or the administrative reports where the
to benefit the seniors as they work there.
Ms. Smallwood, we welcome your comments on legislation that we voted on or the administrative reports, but we have not brought to topic the nutrition center. So we welcome anything else.
The nutrition of last month, and you wouldn't let us comment on it, so I think I should have the right to comment on it today.
Ms. Smallwood, again, if you can keep your comments to the administrative reports and current
I am
legislation.
finished. I am finished.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smallwood.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is citizens' comments, and citizens do have a right to comment on whatever they choose to comment on, whether it's on the agenda or not. That's why it's called citizens' comments, and it's always been that way. Public hearing is one thing, you stick to the agenda. Citizens' comments at the regular meeting allows citizens to have a comment on whatever they choose to speak on. That's why the citizens' comments.
So we've had, the council has had conversations on this, and it was my understanding that one of two things. One, that if it's administrative in matter, that it can be moved to the citizen email the administration to cut down on the time of the meetings. And that if we so choose to keep the comments to what we have discussed and the administrative reports, that we could actually do that to cut down on time of the meeting.
Well, I must not be in the meeting, Mr. President, because when does that happen?
Mr. Herron, let me finish for a second, please. With that, citizens can email any council member with, their comments relating to anything as relates to nutrition center or anything like that. But the comments that I've given instructions for tonight were comments related to what we've discussed tonight and the administrative reports.
Mr. President, you don't have the authority to tell a citizen what they can and cannot talk about on this agenda. They are talking to the administration who handles all aspects of this government. The city manager handles the nutrition center, the mayor handles personnel, handles other offices. All of that is open for comment and questions during citizens' comments. Can I sit here and leave it to one area because you're tired? The meetings run long because we have all this agenda stuff on here. I mean, it is what it is. The citizens have a right to speak, give them a right to speak. One minute you want the citizens to speak, next minute you want to limit what they speak about. That's never have happened in the city of Glenarden during citizens' comments. Citizens have always had a right to speak on whatever topic they wanted to bring to this council. How many times do they get a chance to speak in front of the council? This is the only time and if they have an issue they didn't want to talk about, they should be able to bring that issue to their citizens, to this council, to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Herron. And again, we do limit citizens' comments and public hearings, so it's baffling to me that we could do it in one meeting and not the other. But we've had conversations where Mr. Herring, that you and I have talked about one of your tactics as president to cut down on the length of the meetings was to limit the citizens' comments to what we were discussing. I discussed this with you and at our meeting when we had the closed meeting in the nutrition center as a way to cut down on length of the meetings, that we should at times, at the very least, limit citizens' comments to what we have been discussing, whether it be legislation, whether it be administrative reports, or topics of discussion that we've discussed. I did not come out with this by myself, but you
Oh,
know,
Mr. President, that
we've
is not true.
talked about this.
We only talked
That's
about
fine.
for the public hearings. I said you need to limit it to the agenda items. For the
Okay.
for the regular meetings, I said citizens speak on whatever they need to speak on. That's only fair that they had the opportunity to do that. I never said citizens should be limited doing citizens' comments. Limited on what they can say. I've sat there as council president, then while people sat there and bashed me on left and right as council president, and allowed them to say what they wanted to say, and it wasn't on the agenda. Y'all were part of it.
Okay. Thank you. I'm definitely not concerned about being bashed. I've been bashed before. But with that, Councilman Ferguson.
I would like to add that the normal procedure would be the public hearing. That is when the citizens can speak, and they would normally speak on the legislation that's presented, nothing else. The regular meeting, they can speak on whatever they want to speak on, whether it's the reports given, whether they have a howling dog, or whatever. Anything they want to speak on within in the city for 5 minutes. I don't remember us limiting anyone for the regular session. Most of the citizens wait patiently for this so that they can speak about whatever they want to speak on. They may not even speak on anything concerning the what was brought here tonight. It might be something else totally different. But that is what has always been the history that I know. So with that said, I would, if Mrs. Smallwood wasn't finished, I would think that she should be able to finish as long as she didn't run over her 5 minutes. She should be able to talk about the nutritional center or whatever.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not my decision. Mr. Herring, forgive me if I misunderstood you. But if the council so wills that, that the regular meetings be given 5 minutes to people to say whatever they want to say, I'm fine with it. I'll avoid going through a consensus and just ask if there's anybody that disagrees with that. If there isn't, then Ms. Smallwood can go. Feel free to go ahead for the remaining. I think she had 2 minutes left on her clock anyway. Any objections? Okay, Ms. Smallwood, go ahead. I believe you were talking about the nutrition center. Are you speaking, Ms. Smallwood?
Can you hear me?
You are unmuted. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, what I was saying about the nutritional center is that Department of Aging give the city about $12,000 a year. And that money was not used for rental, which I heard a council member say that the nutrition room was a rental. That money was used for carpet. That money was used to replace anything that was broken down there. And I believe it also was used for salary to pay the Mrs. Barbara, I think her name was Barbara, was to pay her salary. So people need to stop giving out false information. And if they don't know, they need to ask somebody. Also, I want to clarify a statement that Mrs. Cross made, Ms. Cross, I checked with American Red Cross. American Red Cross say they do not tell people where their blood is going. So you cannot say that your blood was used in Washington, D.C. because they say they have no idea where your blood went to. Once the blood is in the box and it come back to them, they have no way in the world to know where that blood was dispensed to. So please stop giving out misinformation to citizens. It's wrong. You need to stop it. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, Ms. Smallwood, I believe you were at the end, but please accept my apologies. It wasn't anything personal. I misunderstood Mr. Herring, so I'm glad you stayed on so that you can finish your comment. So my deepest apologies to you in my misunderstanding of the flow of the citizens' comments. Ms. Arela Smith.
Did you hear?
Can you all hear me?
I'm sorry, one second. I hear two different people talking at the same time. Ms. Smallwood, your mic is open. Could you?
Well, I'm asking, did y'all hear what I said? Did y'all, because something happened to my phone.
Yes, we heard what you said about the Red Cross.
And did you hear that I said I want on record about the Open Meeting Act to be on record?
This is recording, so this is record. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Ms. Smith?
Hello, good
Sorry
afternoon
about that.
to you all. First, I would like to thank Mr. Harrington and Mr. Harrison. If I pronounce y'all names wrong, please forgive me. I just want to thank them because I live down on Delwood Avenue. I have a big issue down here that I talked to the city. I went to the office to have the city manager to come down here to see. I'm dealing with a border, like a boundary line. Where I live in a cul-de-sac. I live across from Mr. Colbert. I have been here 23 years. I have never had a problem with Glenard or my boundary line. Now, my neighbor, we're having a problem with that boundary line, which he's supposed to get surveyed. I had also, I'm sorry, because this is my daughter, I had also had the councilman, which I thought was really nice to take his time to come down here. I went to the office and I asked Mr. Bennett, he came down, and I tried to reach out to the city manager. What I'm saying, I work for the federal government. I've been off since last Tuesday fighting this neighbor about this boundary line. I don't think it's fair because I lose out money. I'm a taxpayer like you all are taxpayers. I don't think it's fair that the city manager couldn't take time to come down here to see. We had rain, real bad rain. Now my basement is being flooded because of this argument about the boundary line and about space. I want to thank the two gentlemen that took the time and the person in the office, Miss Michelle, who took the time to at least make sure the paperwork got forwarded the way it was supposed to. But I'm really upset with the city manager because I think I'm a resident. I barely complain, but when I do come on these meetings, I am going to complain because I do have a problem with that. I also have a problem with the permits. I live in Ward 1. I can't argue about over there at Woodmore. I don't live on Woodmore side. I can't afford a $7,000 home. But what I can say is that over here in Ward 1, we are suffering with these vehicles being brought home from people's jobs. And there's parking. I live in a cul-de-sac. I got 8 vehicles here. This is no longer a single family home. It's a multi-unit home. My neighbor that I'm having problems with at 3333 Hay Street, they got like 12 vehicles. Where does these where does it start being from a single family home to a multi-purpose home? That's not fair to us as residents. And I'm sorry, I'm frustrated, I'm upset because I mean it's not fair. We not over Woodmore. We over here in the Glenarm Park where everybody is bringing their work vehicles home and you can barely get a parking. Mr. Colbert come here to look at his house. He can barely get a parking and it's not fair. Why if Woodmore don't want any permits, that's fine. but Ward 1 should get the permits. We shouldn't suffer because y'all don't have to be in this cul-de-sac where you can't get a parking space. You don't have to be on the side of the street where you have a 77-year-old neighbor who can't get a parking space. That's not fair. Sure, you have a driveway, but you don't have a parking space for your son or your daughter to come and visit you if you get sick. Or they parking right here in front of the stop sign. And I thank Miss Keisha because she gave a ticket out to the gentleman because she took the time. I thank Mr. Bennett because he comes down here, he sits in this cul-de-sac to see, and he drives down there and he giving out stop orders. But it took me to keep coming over there to send a letter to the council member, the mayor, and others about this issue I have in my home. And that's all I have to say. And I thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Barber, are you still on the call?
Yes.
Just want to make sure you got all of that, and that the appropriate individuals can respond and to Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thank you for your comments, Ms. Smith. Ms. Hunter.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to quickly piggyback off of what Ms. Smith said. I feel her pain. I know where she's coming from. I too am on Ward 1 and also on a cul-de-sac and experience some of the same things. As new neighbors come, it's like it's a huge influx of vehicles, and I get it. You can't control how many vehicles a household's going to have, but when they're inconsiderate and they're parking here, there, and everywhere, and I think I mentioned this before, is there any way that we could get permits? Maybe it's a case by case basis. I don't know, but I think I mentioned it before, and I think Councilman Harrington had addressed it and was saying, it's pros and cons to doing that, but something really needs to be done about it because it hadn't always been this way, and it's out of control, and it's a lot of neighbors that are very, very inconsiderate as it comes to parking and these huge vehicles and work vehicles and everything else. So I just wanted to say, Ms. Smith, I too feel your pain. And also I wanted to ask, are there any plans for youth jobs this summer for our youth? I thought I heard it in the previous meeting, but I have missed a couple of meetings. So I just kind of wanted to know, do we have anything planned for our youth for the summer as far as employment for those that are old enough to get a work permit and possibly get some work experience? That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Barber, do you want to respond to that?
Yes. Sure, thank you, Council President. Yes, ma'am, we do have a program that we participate with, the county's summer youth program. They actually have to apply through the county to participate in the jobs, and then they get placed in different municipalities that do the work, and we let them know how many students that we would have space for and available work for them to participate. And we do have a number of students that are coming to the city to work this summer. But they do have to apply through the county's jobs program. We don't run that program internally.
Oh, may I respond quickly?
Yes, step down.
Okay, thank you for that information. And that's great. But how many of our, and I know you can't answer this question, but how are we getting this information out to the community and to the youth and to the parents who may have youth that want to work, that may not know that's the process? It's great that we have other kids coming into Glenarden to work for the summer, but I'm real big on taking care of home and getting our kids, because we have too many kids that's just out here and they have nothing to do. again, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but it's something to do in Ward 2, something to do in Ward 3. Ward 1, our youth really don't have anything over here without them having to cross the highway and going over to the recreation center, which the highway is becoming a racetrack now, so that's not safe. So yeah, I thank you for that information, but I haven't seen that information posted anywhere, and it doesn't apply to my children just yet, but I care about the other youth. That might be a great opportunity for them this summer, and if they don't know about it, then they lose out.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. And typically what happens is when the program starts up, it opens up in
February.
like May and February, and they get placements by May and June, and whether or not they can participate. It comes from the county executive's office, and it comes down to the municipalities, and we do share that information through our social media platforms and things like that. So that's how the information gets out to folks.
Okay.
But I do understand your need to have something more catered to the residents and the smallest residents of Glenarden. So we certainly can look forward in the next fiscal year to doing something in-house if that's something that we can sustain with our workforce here. Because the problem is it's a number of background checks and things that you have to do with the kids, and not really background checks, but a number of information that you have to get from them and their parents for them to participate. And that's not always something that we can handle in-house. And that's why we work in conjunction with the county for them to be able to do the majority of the heavy lifting on that front end of the project.
Council President, may I?
Ms. Councilwoman Jones.
They start that program in February, and the program goes through their high schools, get the information about the county summer youth employment program. That's what it's called, summer youth employment program. And they also, when the kids apply for it, they give them they bring them in and give them training sessions, counseling sessions, and sit down with them and talk about employment and what they need to do. And then in the past, the city of Glenarden, through the because before we had the program through the council clerk, and she would be able to get those go to the county, and then some of the children that lived in Glenarden, she was able to take the addresses and know who lived in Glenarden and ask the county, can we have this person or that person, so that they would be closer when they would work in the library, or if they would work at City Hall, or if wherever we could place them, they would be closer to home, so they could get to the without using public transportation to take away from their monies and stuff like that. So we have in the past, the students that sign up have been able to be placed in the city of Glenarden. I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments from citizens? Can't see any hands, but you can also unmute yourself if you have anything. Okay, with that, there are two things. One, there were a lot of attempts to infiltrate this meeting tonight. It was a huge effort to prevent some nefarious people from coming to our meeting. So I would encourage citizens in the future, if you're coming on, please just make sure your name is stated and not just a number. That would be helpful. If by any chance I accidentally deleted one serious citizen, for the record, I deeply apologize. And At one point, I thought it was either Ms. Schultz or my wife who was trying to join, and it wasn't. So a lot of attempts to join the meeting that weren't up to any good. And the second piece is that just wanted to extend an apology to Mr. Herring. I was incorrect, so my apologies. Did not want to misstate what you said, just got it confused. So I hope you accept my apology as relates to the issue with the comments. Again, it wasn't anything nefarious or malicious. It was just a misunderstanding. So I apologize for misquoting you. And with that, if there are no other citizens' comments,
Council President.
Mayor Cross, unfortunately, this was a time for citizens' comments,
I'm
and
also,
we do not have any other. I'm sorry. If you are speaking as a citizen, then it is my understanding that you can speak. So I do apologize for that. Are you still speaking as a citizen or the mayor?
I can speak as a citizen because I can donate as a citizen as well. I just want to address the Red Cross from Citizen Smallwood. Citizen Cross wants you to know that that email came to my account. Also received a record of where that blood was donated. So your comments are inaccurate. I actually do have written proof of where it was donated, and it was given in Washington. Now, they don't tell you the name of the recipient, but your region, your location, and your time of donation, all of that is given to you. It was given to me in this account, and I received that from the donation from January. I just wanted that to go on record as a citizen, it as something that they did. Whether that's something that the person you contacted knew, not here or there. One thing that I will note that also for young people that want to be employed, Employ Prince George's is another opportunity because sometimes the summer employment program doesn't have enough resources or cannot get our people employed and our citizens employed. So we are reached out to another location for some youth that are in the teenage coming into the work role, and Employ Prince George's. I want to recommend that for citizen Ms. Hunter, because that's also another avenue, because sometimes Prince George's doesn't have enough open slots to fill. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, the time is 10:44. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.